Good morning, everybody.
Hold on.
Hey,
Hi.
how are you?
Good morning.
Sorry.
Morning, morning.
Hi.
Hey. Hey, Chris. Hey, Dave. Hey, Kyle.
Hi, how you doing?
Morning.
Morning. Casey, welcome to our Delaware Beaches KW family.
How's everyone doing?
Pretty good.
As they're filtering in for our Winning Wednesday today, you deserve a huge shout out for your win on Rookie of the Year. That was awesome. For those of you that don't know, our region has over 11,000 agents. So that's between Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and Delaware. So that's some high competition.
Yeah, I didn't even know there was a word for that. So when I got told it happened, I was like, all right, I guess I'll take it.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So it seems a few of them, I'm going to let them get on here so you don't have to repeat yourself too many times, Casey. But thank you so much for being here. We love the Winning Wednesday idea because it allows us to really highlight some people that are winning in a market that has more challenges than, say, it has the last few years. And especially for agents getting licensed in this time, or this being their first real shifted market. It's really important that we're able to have those conversations and duplicate things that are working, as is the KW culture. So Casey, I'm going to allow you to kind of take over, tell us about yourself, what you did before real estate, when you got licensed, and how it all got started.
Yeah. Thanks for having me today. It's always fun chatting with other agents and just collaborating, coming up with new ideas with one another. And biggest part is just taking action on what we talk about. But so I'm 31. Just had a newborn son a couple weeks ago. So life is very busy right now. As if you all have kids, you know what I'm talking about. But yeah, 31, we have 2 kids, been married for 5 years to an amazing wife. I grew up in the construction industry. My dad is part owner of a general contractor called Speedwell Construction here in Lancaster County. They do about 150 million a year in revenue. So I grew up on construction sites as a kid. Went to college, played baseball in high school and college, played down at UNC Asheville for a couple years, and then transferred back up to Harrisburg area and finished my career there. And worked for a general contractor, basically right out of college as a project manager. Was there for about a year, went down to Charlotte, North Carolina, worked for a big time GC down there, worked with a lot of incredible developers. Built a Pepsi distribution center, worked with some big time mega churches. So got a broad overview of how some of these big time people do real estate. So that was very eye-opening. And then moved back, oh gosh, what was that, 6 years ago maybe? And then worked for my dad's business for 5 years or so. Worked with some local developers as a project manager again. And then we kind of had without getting into too much detail, basically just had a falling out of the family business. And really didn't have a job. Gosh, what was that? 21, had a 2-month-old at the time with my wife. My wife wasn't working. And I was like, all right, what are we going to do? We don't have too many options. So obviously, I've always loved real estate, working with developers. So the realtor that I was working with, his name's Benyul Esh. He has one of the top teams here in the office. He was my realtor at the time because we were buying some investment properties. And he says, hey, get your license and come on my team. You'll kill it. So I said, sure, let's do it. So I got my license in 3 months. And yeah, just kind of hit the ground running with Benuel. Worked with Benuel for about a year, and then went on my own last August. And yeah, just was fortunate enough to have a lot of great relationships, some lead generators that I teamed up with. And yeah, a couple fortunate things happened just by taking action on a lot of ideas. And yeah, next thing you know, it was just working, and officially creating my own team right now, and starting to pioneer that and see what happens.
That's awesome. It's
Yeah.
definitely a story of, it's either succeed or not, sink or swim.
Yep.
So tell us more about those beginning, probably the first 6 months were stressful and a lot of change and a lot of learning. Being on a team, what were some of those systems or trainings or activities that were implemented that you still use today?
Yeah, so Benuel's not a huge he's not a micromanager at all. He's mostly there for, he has a lot of incredible connections, which was great. But just to have someone over you that just continues to speak positive over your life and over your situation was probably the most impact that he had on my life. So yeah, a lot of just what he did during that time was super impactful. That has just kind of got me going, got me on my feet. I sat down with a lot of just developers and other realtors, and one of the developers told me, and Mary, I think I shared this at the mastermind, he was like, Casey, 90% of success is just showing up. And that just kind of really stuck with me. So, the next day, I reached out to basically everybody here at the office and says, hey, if you have open houses, you need help, I'm your guy. If you have showings, I'm your guy, this and that. And Benuel actually had an open house within a week or two. It didn't fit in my schedule. But, my wife and I moved things around because, again, we didn't have options. Sometimes when your back is up against the wall, it's the best place to be, despite how it feels. So yeah, I took that opportunity, and the last lady that came through wasn't represented, wanted to buy it. She was approved by a lender, and I represented her. The lender really enjoyed how I did the whole transaction, worked through the process of it. It under appraised, but then we had to work through some other obstacles. And yeah, I still work with him to this day. He's a great lead generator for me. I work extremely hard for him. And he's been a big part of my business. So yeah, moral of the story was you have to take action. 90% of success is just deciding to say yes. And that was probably the moral of the story of how my career got started.
I think that's so powerful because we focus so much, especially when business is slow, on the models and the systems, but there's a lot of mindset behind that. And who you surround yourself with. I mean, we are a combination of the 5 people we surround ourselves with. So I think that's so awesome. So tell me more about how that person is a lead generator for you. Tell me more about what that means and how that has cultivated your career. Can you hear me? Am I frozen or are you frozen?
I think you may be frozen. There we go.
Across. Oh, I was going in and out. Can you guys hear me?
Yep, we can hear you now.
Yeah. Yeah, so he basically just likes how I work. And he told me, he's like, hey, Casey, I can provide you leads. How far are you willing to travel for me? And I said, I'll travel as far as you want, as long as I continue to provide value for you. So we did a 2-hour radius. And so I put on about 50,000 miles that year, just driving around. My wife was bought into it. And yeah, so he he works with a handful of realtors all around Pennsylvania. And I just happened to, have an opportunity to meet him. And so we've been working together ever since.
Relationships go a long way.
Yes, they
Most
do.
definitely. So it seems like you've had extreme success very quickly, which would, of course, award you with Rookie of the Year. What were some of the systems that you felt like you needed to implement with growth? I would imagine such quick growth would mean a lot of, behind the scenes work as well to make sure that you're continuing to give that customer service.
Yeah, so I think a lot of I honestly didn't really have systems for probably that first half year, just because of, I should say half year on my own, just because I was kind of learning as I was going. But I just feel like my background being a project manager, managing 5, 10, 15, $20 million projects and multiple of them, having 3 to 8 deals going on at a time was kind of second nature to me. So, and it's just my background with coordinating stuff, multiple people on the phone, a lot of things you got to juggle at once to get the deals done. So I think I was actually fortunately prepped for just what it takes to get stuff under contract and to the settlement table. But what I've been working on this year is exactly that. Fortunately, demand is still there with clients. So I hired a part-time admin right now. And that is what we are currently getting in place for follow-up systems. Last year, 2021 and 22, a lot of people were ready to go. Follow-up systems you didn't necessarily need to have in place. And I'm only speaking from a year of experience. So you still could do fairly well without having top-notch follow-up systems, but the market has shifted and that's a different story now. So yeah, this year is something that I'm working on with follow-up systems with my admin. And yeah, we're having some success with it. But a lot of it is just coming up with new ideas. And like I said, collaborating with other people.
Yeah, absolutely. Tell us a little bit more. When did you go solo from the team?
So I got my license in 21 of August, and then it would have been July or August of last year is when I went on my own. And then, yeah, the last quarter to half of the year there when I was by myself, we averaged about $1 million a month in sales on my own, which was just, a huge blessing. And just kind of a mark that I have tried to stay consistent with. And yeah, just trying to keep going after it.
What did that decision look like going from solo or from on a team to solo? I mean, I can imagine having a family and the interest rate spiking so high at that time. What did that decision look like?
Yeah, so it's kind of a cool story. So I'm a faith guy. I believe in God and believe he, speaks to us in different ways. And so my wife and I were just praying with one another of, hey, we feel like we're being called to go on our own to start creating for ourselves in a different way and to bring people on to help bring value. So we were just at, church one day, and a guy comes up to me that didn't know my situation and just said, hey, I feel like the Lord is, telling you that he's ready for your independence. And I was just like, whoa, that's pretty crazy. So I sat down with my team leader, Beniel, who shares the same faith as I do. And I just said, hey, this is what we've been processing. This is what's been going on. So I'm thinking of going solo because I just think it's what the Lord wants for my family. And so we chatted about it, made sure that I was prepared to go out on my own. And he blessed it and gave me everything I needed to do it. So it was a pretty cool process of how it all happened. Really nothing that, I did. It was just, following what I felt was the necessary thing to do.
Absolutely. And I think something that's so unique about this company, Keller Williams itself, which is so funny because I go to a mega church as well,
Yeah.
and they're very similar in how they run. But I would say Keller Williams is the land of opportunity. You kind of just are able to step into different opportunities that present themselves.
Yep.
Again, by who you surround yourself by.
Yep.
So my gosh, $1 million a month is what you're looking at the end of last year. How is this year going for you?
So this year we're definitely not hitting that quite. I think we're a little behind, but it's just, I mean, I have a ton of clients that I'm running around with. It's just a matter of time before stuff just starts hitting. But I mean, what are we at? I don't even know. With what we have under contract now, we're right around 4 or 5 million settled. So we're going to aim to hit similar numbers as we did last year, which I think in today's market, if you're able to do that, you're gaining market share with what is happening. And it's an interesting time right now with the market, what's going on in our government, and going on in our world, honestly. There's a lot of things that we can't control. But the one thing we can control is controlling our mind, with how we think and how we stay positive. And again, just surrounding yourself with the right people to keep you going. Because there is going to be a lot of people that drop out in this industry in the next year. And if you can figure out how to stick with it, it's going to be a great thing. I always look at things with stocks. I'm an investor myself. I have a couple partners. And whenever something goes down, I think it's the best time to buy into something. So with this market, listings are down, buyers are down because of interest rates. In my mind, it's a great time to double down, even triple down with what you're doing. Because when this market comes back with a flood of listings, you'll have the infrastructure in place to really kill it. But with that comes risk, and it all depends what your what your level of risk is and what you're willing to go after. Because I think that is going to kind of set the bar for what your success will be down the road.
That's so true. And I'm glad you brought up the investments and then that side of your world, because one of the things that I underlined at the mastermind last 2 weeks ago was you have some tax ideas and unique stuff around that. So coming from somebody who is wanting even to hear it myself, what do you got?
Yeah, so again, I've surrounded myself with some pretty incredible people, which has led me to some great contacts. So with that, has affected with how I handle finances, with how I look at money, rather than money and trying to inflate your bank account. I just see it as a tool. So basically, my wife and I have set a budget with what our life expenses are. And basically everything goes out into investments. We live extremely under our means, and we live in a semi-detached home I bought 7 years ago. We are absolutely packed out with our second kid. But with what I'm getting at is when you invest in certain types of real estate, there's incredible tax benefits. So figuring out how to get your hands on that money, there's a lot of ways to do it if you don't have excess cash. But investing in short-term rentals, investing in hospitality, investing in a larger multifamily, doing what's called call segregations on your properties, which is essentially just taking all your depreciation year one. There's a lot of strategies that you can do to write off all your earned income that you do as a realtor. So basically in the past two-ish years, my partners and I have bought 4 commercial properties. And after doing call segregations and everything, I had, close to $750,000 in tax write-offs. So, for the past 2 years, getting to not pay federal tax, coming up with creating, S corps, LLCs, so you don't have to pay your first time business tax. There's a lot of ways to minimize the tax burden that you have to do. Now, again, everything gets pushed off to the future, so you have to continue to stay active in investing. But yeah, owning your tax situation, owning your finances, it's the name of the game if you want to continue to spread your wealth out down the road.
Yeah, absolutely. It sounds like some of that also is similar to agent financials. I'm sure you've taken that within the region. How do you make $1 make you $10? So somebody that is just getting started and thinking about doing that, what would be your advice to them?
I would invest in yourself first before you start going out and investing and spending money. Joining masterminds, joining groups, reaching out to local developers because they all do it. Reaching out to people that have been there, done that. Gain all the knowledge that you can, because knowledge is just wealth. But you got to put it into action. So yeah, if you're looking to figure out how to do all of that, I would invest in yourself for probably a good full year, until you start taking those risks, because at the end of the day, they are risks. But the more knowledge you have, the more you can mitigate that risk to make sure there's a solid return there for you and your family.
That's good advice. That's good advice. So I kind of want to open it up to questions about how you lead generate. I mean, I know a lot of people on here, just looking in what I know about some of you guys, we're probably looking to, one, get some more leads to have some more business. And then also, how do we make what we have more sustainable through the rest of the year? So please open it up to questions. Everybody's camera was on and now they're all off.
Hi, Casey. I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Who is this Benuel guy that you keep talking about?
Yeah, so his name's Benuel Esh. He's younger than me, so I'm 31, so he's 29 or 30. His team is Esh and Associates here at the office. He is an ex-Amish realtor, big investor. Not sure what his net worth is, but it's pretty high for his age. And yeah, he was my realtor when we were looking at some investment properties. And yeah, so I think he's been a realtor now for 5 years, and he's a very creative guy. Invests in a lot of unique things around the US, honestly. He's a big thinker. Big enough to start getting his own helicopter soon, and taking agents around, or taking clients around the US to look at deals. So that's who I was under. So it definitely brought me out of my comfort zone, to start thinking a lot bigger than just some of the ideas that I had, which really helped me.
Okay, thanks.
Yep.
Find me at Benuel.
Yeah. Find you a Benuel, name of the game.
I mean, if anything I got from this is that it just supersedes who you surround yourself with matters. And I think the mindset is the biggest piece right now.
Yeah, mindset is a lot that I had to work through. I mean, we all work through it. We all struggle with it. We're all humans. We all have that demon on our left or right shoulder that's saying, no, you don't want to reach out to this person because they're going to make fun of you, or no, you don't want to make this call because they're going to make you look dumb, or no, you don't want to reach out to this developer because they don't have the time to talk to someone like you. It's all those mental things that we just work through as salespeople, as relationship people. And yeah, every time that I have fought through those, I have seen benefits on the other side. So yeah, who you surround yourself with is key to a lot in life, with just in general.
So when you reached out to developers, because I know that developers do a lot of their own in-house, they have in-house agents that pretty much sit in the model and pretty much handle all the transactions.
Yep.
Did you find yourself getting turned away a lot and saying, well, I already have somebody to do this for me, so I don't really
Yeah, it's a good question. So I haven't reached out to developers or builders um, to gain sales from them. I actually asked them, hey, because I'm fortunate enough to come from a family where my dad has a pretty big influence on the construction industry on the commercial side. So I reached out to people that I have a common connection with through him. And I just want to sit down with them and pick their brain. I don't necessarily reach out to developers to say, hey, can I be your realtor to list your development? I reach out to get knowledge, to sit down with them, to pick their brain. Because you also have to look on the other side. If you're this super successful developer and you have someone reach out to you wanting knowledge, you're typically going to want to share what you know. So it's kind of a win-win where I'm looking to come to learn from you and would come to share from their experience. So that's typically what I do with a couple people, because I want to surround myself with people who have done it already. And I've created some cool connections where we're now on a texting basis relationship, and just learning. That is really what I love to do with people like that. And if I'm fortunate enough to get a deal from it, that's just icing on the cake.
Right.
Yeah, I've always said you don't have to be the smartest person in the room, but you want to know the people in the room.
Yep. Yeah, connections are everything in this industry.
What's the best way you think is to get those connections? Because I'm brand new, pretty much, since January.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I would say figure out who they know that you know, and create that connection. Because it is hard to create relationships just through a cold call. It is difficult, which is why cold calling is so hard. But if you have a person in mind that you would like to talk to, I would try to figure out who they know. And if they know somebody that reach out to that person and say, hey, is there any way you could get me in the door just to talk with this person, or I'm interested in talking with them to pick his brain, and they can try to do a warm lead, a warm transfer of like, hey, Steve is this aspiring realtor who wants to get into development, his past is X, Y, and Z. He would love to, just chat with you. If they're willing to give up their time for something like that, that's basically all I did.
all right.
What kind of things do you learn from talking to the developers?
Yeah, so a lot of what I learned from them is their mindset, because they are doing huge projects, learning how to develop, learning how to invest, connections that make that easier, ways to get financing for stuff, local contractors that they use, that are great assets. I like to sit down with those people, just like I said, to get knowledge, not necessarily deals, which is what I enjoy. I enjoy learning. I enjoy hearing stories of success, of how they've done it, challenges that they face, and how they figure out solutions to basically all their challenges.
I would also say, going back to even a bold exercise, having those connections with their contractors and their plumbers, and we all have to have that information anyway, but if that's another relationship that you're creating to generate leads for yourself.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of flippers in today's market. So if you have a plethora of contractors, there's opportunities there to team up with flippers, because you can give them contractors to get, their costs a lot lower, and then you can get, a couple listings a year. So it's just all those relationships of knowing the right person at the right time. And because someone may need to know someone that and there's value in that. So if you can bring that type of value, typically those people can give value back to your business as well.
Absolutely. Anybody else have questions for Casey? This was like the mission moment I needed today, just to hear your story and how far you've come and how lucky your kids are going to be for all of the work that you're putting in today. It's really admirable, and I would imagine it's inspired everybody else on this call as well.
Yeah, no,
Thank you.
I hope I'm just one story. There's many out there, but yeah, hopefully you can just get a little nugget, and hopefully it helps to increase everybody's business.
I have one last question, my friends.
Sure.
Casey, with you starting out, how did you handle rejection? And with that rejection, how did you still cultivate those relationships based off of what they may have said to you, said why we don't want to work with you?
Yeah, it's a good question, because we definitely battle getting rejected almost every day. I don't know if it's just my personality, but rejection just hasn't really personally bothered me a lot in my life, because I'm not really in this world to please people, because if that's your mission, you're gonna fail, because not everybody in this world is gonna like you. Doesn't matter how successful you are, how many charities you get up and running, how many nonprofits. There's going to be people in this world that just don't like you, don't want to work with you, or not going to think the best of you, despite how pure your motives are. So just staying true to knowing yourself and having confidence in yourself that you are the best person that you can be. That's the only thing you can own. You can't own other people's opinions about you. So just staying grounded in who I am, and knowing that my mission out there is to truly help people. If people don't want it, that's their decision. I'm not here to change it or change their opinion about me. I'm just here to stay consistent, knowing who I am.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yep.
That was a good way to end it then, I think, Casey. Unless anybody else has any other questions. All right, we all have a lot of work to do. Let's go get to it. And Casey, thank you so much for pouring into our agent today and being our winning Wednesday spotlight.
Yeah, absolutely. Appreciate it, guys.
Thank you, Casey.
Thank you, Casey.
You.
Yep. Have a good one. Go get it.